We have all seen the movies, we have read the books, The Dead Walk. They rise from their graves with a single, terrible hunger. For many it's just a fun story, a thrilling escape for a couple of hours, but honestly the fascination runs deeper than simple entertainment. It touches a primal fear, a question we quietly ask ourselves, what if? What if something like this actually happened? This is not about monsters from a horror film, it is about understanding a global crisis. A real pandemic, a breakdown of everything we know, could share many traits with these fictional outbreaks. The zombie story is a framework, a way for us to explore the collapse of our organized world, and question our own ability to endure when everything falls apart. It is a dress rehearsal for a disaster we hope never comes. A zombie virus would likely not be supernatural. It would be a product of biology, maybe a mutated strain of an existing pathogen. Think of rabies, a virus that rewires the brain, causing extreme aggression and a loss of rational thought. Now, imagine if that virus could spread more easily, through a cough or a simple touch, instead of just a bite. Or, consider a prion disease like mad cow disease, which destroys brain tissue, turning complex minds into something primitive and non-functional. The outbreak would not begin with a dramatic, announced explosion of chaos. It would start silently. A few strange cases in a remote village, misdiagnosed by local doctors. A news report on page 10 about an unusual flu. These are the quiet beginnings, the small tremors before the earthquake that will shake the foundations of civilization. The initial spread would be insidious, exploiting the very systems designed to connect us. An infected person gets on an airplane feeling only a slight fever. They land in a major international hub like London or Tokyo. Before their symptoms become obvious, they have already passed the pathogen to dozens of others in the crowded terminal, on the subways, and in the bustling city streets. These newly infected individuals then travel onward, carrying the sickness with them to their own hometowns and countries. This is how a modern plague works. It moves at the speed of human travel, far faster than any government or health organization can track it in the early stages. The official response will be too slow, hampered by bureaucracy, denial, and the sheer disbelief that such a thing is even possible. The first signs of societal breakdown would not be hordes of the undead, but the failure of information. Governments would try to control the narrative, to prevent mass panic. They would issue statements that are cautiously optimistic, downplaying the severity of the threat. The situation is under control, they would say, even as hospitals begin to overflow. But rumors would spread faster than any official press release. Unfiltered videos would appear online showing disturbing scenes of violence and illness. People would see the truth with their own eyes, shared through social media. This clash between official stories and grim reality would shatter public trust. The fear would not come from the zombies themselves at first, but from the realization that we are on our own, that the people in charge have lost control. When the truth can no longer be denied, the Great Panic will begin. This is a force of nature in itself, a tidal wave of human fear that is more destructive than any single infected individual. The primary instinct for most people will be flight. They will try to get away, to go somewhere safe, without a clear plan of where that is. Highways will become parking lots, jammed with cars that have run out of fuel. Fights will break out at gas stations over the last few drops of gasoline. Supermarkets will be stripped bare in a matter of hours, not by organized survivors, but by desperate mobs grabbing anything they can carry. This initial chaos is the second wave of the disaster, a self-inflicted wound that cripples our ability to mount an effective, organized response. Human reaction will be a spectrum of behaviors. Many will be paralyzed by fear, unable to make rational decisions. They will lock themselves in their homes believing it is the safest option, only to become trapped when their supplies run out or the infected breach their weak defenses. Others will fall into denial, refusing to accept the reality of the situation until it is too late. They will try to go to work, to maintain their normal routines as if the world outside is not burning down. However, amidst the chaos you will also see incredible acts of courage and cooperation. Neighbors who barely knew each other will suddenly band together, sharing resources and watching each other's backs. Small groups will form, creating pockets of order in a world descending into madness. The authorities, from local police to national armies, will be overwhelmed. Their training is for conventional emergencies, hurricanes, earthquakes, or civil unrest. They are not prepared for a threat that turns their own citizens into the enemy, a threat that grows exponentially with every person who falls. Soldiers will face a terrible choice: follow orders to fire on civilians who are infected but look like their friends and family, or hesitate and risk being overrun. The chain of command will fracture. Some units will hold their ground, creating fortified zones, while others will disintegrate as soldiers abandon their posts to save their own families. The loss of a centralized armed response is the moment the apocalypse truly becomes official. This is where the true test of humanity begins. With no government, no police, and no rules, what do people become? Some will turn into predators, preying on the weak for supplies. These are the human monsters who are often more dangerous than the infected. They will form gangs, taking what they want through violence and intimidation. But others will rise to the occasion. They will become leaders, organizers, and protectors. These individuals will understand that survival is not a solo endeavor. They will form communities, establish rules, and work together to create a new form of society. The struggle will not just be against the dead. It will be a battle for the soul of the living, a fight to preserve decency and cooperation in the face of total collapse. Cities, the shining monuments of human achievement, will become death traps. They are built for a high-density population, relying on a constant flow of resources, food, water, electricity, that will be severed almost immediately. The power grid will fail, plunging millions into darkness. Water treatment plants will stop working, making tap water unsafe to drink. With millions of people packed into a small area, the virus will spread like wildfire. Every skyscraper becomes a vertical tomb, every subway tunnel a dark, inescapable maze. The sheer number of infected will turn the streets into a constant flowing river of death. For anyone trapped inside a major city, escape will be nearly impossible and survival will be measured in hours, not days. The countryside offers a different set of challenges and opportunities. The low population density is a major advantage. Encounters with the infected will be less frequent, giving survivors more time to think and plan. There is more open space, better visibility, and natural resources like wood and wild game. A remote farmhouse with its own well and land for growing food seems like an ideal sanctuary. However, rural life is not the paradise many city dwellers imagine. Survival there requires a completely different set of skills. Can you hunt? Can you farm? Can you repair a generator or purify water from a stream? The isolation that provides safety also creates profound loneliness and vulnerability. A small group can be easily overwhelmed if a wandering horde stumbles upon them. Survival will boil down to the most basic human needs: water, food, and shelter. Water is the most immediate priority. A person can only survive a few days without it. Survivors will need to find a reliable source, like a well or a river, and know how to purify it by boiling or using filters. Food is the next critical challenge. Canned goods and non-perishables will be a lifeline in the early days, but they will eventually run out. Long-term survival depends on the ability to produce your own food through farming, fishing, or hunting. This is a slow and difficult process that requires knowledge, patience, and protection from both the infected and other hungry survivors. Shelter is more than just a roof over your head. It is your fortress. An ideal shelter is defensible with limited entry points, strong walls, and good visibility of the surrounding area. A brick warehouse, a school, or even a walled-off rural property could work. It must also be sustainable, located near a source of water and with space to grow food or store supplies. The choice of shelter will be one of the most important decisions a survivor makes. A poor choice leads to a quick end. A smart choice provides the foundation upon which a new life, however difficult, can be built. The world becomes a game of risk management, where every decision carries the weight of life and death. Despite the overwhelming odds, humanity will not simply lie down and die. The instinct to survive is powerful, and human ingenuity is our greatest weapon. People will learn to adapt. They will develop new tactics for dealing with the infected, using quiet weapons and clever diversions instead of loud guns that attract more of them. They will learn to fortify locations effectively, creating safe zones where communities can begin to rebuild. Teamwork will prove to be the most critical survival tool of all. A lone individual is weak and vulnerable, but a group can post guards, scavenge for supplies, and grow food. In a cooperative group, the skills of a doctor, a mechanic, an engineer, and a farmer become more valuable than gold. The solutions will be local and practical. There will be no grand army sweeping across the continent to save everyone. Salvation will be built one small community at a time. Survivors will rediscover old technologies, windmills for power, hand pumps for water, farming techniques that do not rely on gasoline-powered machines. They will learn to communicate over long distances using mirrors, smoke signals, or shortwave radios. This new world will be defined not by what was lost, but by what is being painstakingly rebuilt. Every successful harvest, every newborn child, every secured perimeter will be a victory, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable horror. The zombie apocalypse, in the end, is a story about us. It is a mirror that reflects our fears about pandemics, social breakdown, and the fragility of the world we have built. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Are we prepared for a real large-scale disaster? Do we have the skills to survive without electricity, running water, or grocery stores? Do we know our neighbors well enough to trust them in a crisis? The zombies are just the catalyst. The real story is about how people react to the collapse of normal life. It is a study in sociology, psychology, and our own innate capacity for both great cruelty and profound kindness when the chips are down. Therefore, the greatest lesson from these dark tales is the importance of preparedness. Learning basic first aid, knowing how to purify water, having an emergency kit with food and supplies. These are not just skills for a fictional apocalypse. They are practical steps for any real-world emergency, be it an earthquake, a severe storm, or a power outage. The zombie narrative serves as a powerful, engaging tool that encourages us to think about these things. By preparing for the Walking Dead, we are, in a very real sense, preparing for anything. The ultimate goal is not to survive a fantasy, but to ensure we are ready and resilient for the real challenges our world might one day face.